On the night of February 9th, 2026, ladies and gentlemen, an alarming incident or event occurred at the Alpha Hour Auditorium, a central place of worship in Ghana specifically. A woman whose identity has not yet been, divulged or disclosed was apprehended or caught by security personnel who was attempting to set fire to several chairs inside the auditorium, ladies and gentlemen. This, swift or quick action by the church's, security team prevented what could have actually been a devastating fire.
Look at that. Alfarius, look at that. So please, if you come there today, it may not be open tomorrow. But one thing is, it won't stop us. Devil, hear me. It won't stop us. We will fix the place. Yes. And prayer will still go. It won't stop us. It won't stop us. How many times have we not heard people say they heard something and they rushed to the auditorium to come and pray? And one upon some last year it was Obi who powder. We stopped people from going near the auditorium and we prayed the power of God into the auditorium so that the altar will be sanctified. And no man be motivated. Obi to me tambo so my dear not the they wanted to defile the altar, so God will not work. So we had to set measures in place to make sure that nobody touches the altar, but you can stand around the altar. Affairs will be no muntiase, umuba, no mubofu, but because there is a power at work, and we need to sanctify.
The woman was quickly handed over to the police for further investigation, ladies and gentlemen. This event is incredibly significant for several reasons. The Alpha Hour prayer sessions led by Pastor Elvis Agyemang specifically are key part of the religious and spiritual life for many across Ghana and the wider West African region, ladies and gentlemen. With the auditorium set on fire, even momentarily, the safety of the congregation and staff was immediately put into question. Now, the question is simple. What led to this frightening attempt? What sparked such a drastic act at a place of peace and prayer? Was this an isolated incident, or does it speak to deeper concerns within the church or the broader community? The attempt to set fire to a church does not simply end with the physical act itself, ladies and gentlemen. It stirs fear, especially amongst those who gather for their weekly prayers and, of course, reflections. The panic caused by such an incident, ladies and gentlemen, if not addressed well, can actually have lasting effects on people's sense of security in their places of worship. Pastor Elvis Agyemang, known for his impactful ministry and wide-reaching influence, has already suspended all in-person Alpha Hour prayer sessions indefinitely, ladies and gentlemen, citing safety concerns. This decision, whilst responsible, also raises deeper questions. How safe are our places of worship in the modern world? That is the question. What can be done to ensure such incidents don't escalate further, ladies and gentlemen, into the future? Now, before we actually dive deeper into this story, ladies and gentlemen, please make sure that again to like this video, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell, because we are here to build this community with important people like you. The fire incident at Alpha Hour was not just a random occurrence, ladies and gentlemen. In such tense moments, it is very essential or very important to approach the situation with a clear lens. This woman, though apprehended quickly, is now in police custody. And of course, investigators are piecing together her motives or reasons. Was it a personal act of anger, or could there be other factors at play, ladies and gentlemen? As law enforcement works to uncover the truth, ladies and gentlemen, there are some key questions we must consider in recent years. The security of public places, including places of worship, has become a growing concern in many African states or countries, whether it is the rise of political instability, local disputes, or even threats from radical groups. The safety of religious spaces has never felt so uncertain. This isn't the first time Ghana has faced challenges in protecting its institutions, ladies and gentlemen. The country or state, known for its relative stability in West Africa, has experienced tensions, particularly regarding religious freedoms and, of course, the growing influence of various faith-based movements. Some critics or enemies suggest that the growth of certain evangelical ministries such as Pastor Elvis Agyemang has led to ideological pushback and confrontation both online and of course offline. Pastor Agyemang's ministry, the Alpha Hour, has attracted or allured attention for its passionate style of prayer, with thousands attending in-person sessions and of course millions attending in online. But with visibility comes scrutiny. Could this attempt to set fire to the auditorium to be linked or connected to personal disagreement or ideological conflict? That is the question. As the investigation unfolds, we may learn more whether this was an isolated incident or part of a wider pattern. In addition, Ghana's religious landscape or environment is becoming more diverse and contested. A country or state that once prided itself on peaceful coexistence between 8 various religious groups now faces complexity of managing religious tensions. Whilst Ghana's reputation for stability has held for years, incidents like this raise critical concerns about the future. Now that we understand the initial background, ladies and gentlemen, let us take a closer look at the regional and of course Pan-African implications of this disturbing event. The implications of this attempted arson, ladies and gentlemen, go far beyond Ghana's armed borders. The event is raising alarms throughout the Pan-African community, especially regarding the security of religious institutions. Whilst Ghana has long been seen as a beacon of stability in West Africa specifically, incidents like these, ladies and gentlemen, show that or demonstrate that no place is immune to disruptions or interruption. Across the continent of Africa, ladies and gentlemen, guess what? Places of worship, whether mosques, churches or temples, are central to the lives of millions of people. These places, ladies and gentlemen, are very sacred or very sanctimonious, offering refuge and of course solace in a sometimes chaotic world. However, as Africa continues to evolve or develop politically and of course socially, the safety of these institutions is coming into question. If this is a sign of growing threat to religious safety, it could set a worrying precedent for other countries or states with a similar religious climate, ladies and gentlemen. In recent years specifically, there has been a global trend of rising security concerns as religious institutions, from terrorist attacks to personal vendettas. Places that were once considered sanctuaries are now facing increasing threats every single day. Ghana, for all its stability, cannot remain an exception. The attack on the Alpha Hour auditorium, ladies and gentlemen, may have been thwarted or stopped, but it shows how fragile or delicate the safety of these spaces can actually be. The investigation into the attempted arsons at the Alpha Hour auditorium is still ongoing. What is known for certain is that the woman responsible for the incident or event has been taken into police custody, and of course the immediate danger was averted. Thanks to the quick actions of the security team, the situation did not actually escalate further, and of course no one was actually injured. Pastor Elvis Agyemang, in light of the event, made the difficult decision to suspend in-person prayer sessions indefinitely, citing safety concerns. This decision was unfortunate and has caused the broader issue of safety within religious institutions, ladies and gentlemen. Now, before I actually leave you, make sure that you do the needful, because we are here for more important people like you. We want to make sure that we share with you future or subsequent what we call analytical African related development with you. So just do the needful, like if you haven't, subscribe most importantly if you haven't, and click that particular notification bell, so that whenever we drop future or subsequent videos, you can actually be one of the first people to be notified by this particular platform of YouTube. See you in the next upload.